Hi everyone, this is Tyler Constable, and welcome to the SLA training video. We're going to talk about setting up SLAs and how to view for a single system and even take a management view where you can look across multiple systems. So looking forward to showing you around.
When you first go into Avantra, we'll go to our reporting service hours or configuration service hours. Either way, so we're going to select the reporting service hours. And these are the hours that the systems we're going to associate it with are available, they need to be available for, right? So we've got basic 24/7, 24 hours a day, Sunday through Saturday. Maybe you've got some different times where it's 7 to 7, Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday don't matter, so the SLA clocks aren't going to be counting after different times. So at 8 p.m. or 2000 hours, if the system comes down, it won't be affected in the SLAs, or if it happens on Saturday or Sunday. Right? So you can create your own very simply here by selecting New, and just modifying, say, select create date range, putting in the time, and selecting which days that's for, and selecting apply. So that's the first step. It's just identifying the dates and times when SLA is required. It's important to note that many of these are already pre-configured for you. So for production systems, you're probably going to have the 7x24 that's already built in. Next, we're going to select our service level agreements. So within the service level agreements, and you'll see some that are already pre-built, you can actually select in here, and now I can see what my availability rate is. So you can put how many nines you have, whenever you like, and then when it is applicable for, right? So again, this goes back to the service hours that we just created. So maybe it's just between the training hours, it needs to be 99.99, let's say. Again, so if it's outside the training hours, this is not impacting. But here we can select all the service hours and the availability rate. Now, from within your systems, we'll do this one for SAP systems. It could be servers, what have you. And I'm going to select system here. Here's a production system. I'm going to undock this to make this a little bit easier to see. Down here, you'll see the monitoring, and you can see the monitoring is currently turned on. And here I can see the SLA, right? So the SLA then also has the service hours built into it. So this is where you can start to define different SLAs. So for your non-production systems, you may have different SLAs than for your production systems, so on and so forth. Now, to stop the SLA clock, monitoring needs to be turned off. That's what will trigger it. So by selecting the monitoring switch, I can now see, all right, I can keep these are the systems and the instances that it's going to impact. And now I can actually say, yeah, well, while the SLA clock is stopped, I still want to keep monitoring on, right? So this might be a situation if you're doing some project work and you've got a downtime phase, maybe a migration, right? So the SLA is not going to be impacting during that approved downtime phase, but you still want to keep an eye on the databases, the source and target databases, and the source and target operating systems. So this is why that's important. You might want to keep monitoring on as well. This can be viewed from within a single system by selecting the Availabilities tab. Now within the Availabilities tab, you can start to see the uptime. This is of the system. It could be the database, or you can go into the server for the server. I'm going to go back a little bit here, select the time back, see if we can find some downtime. So here we go. So we now have, since in this example, January 7th through June 5th, we have a 99.815% uptime. And that's based on when Avantra recognizes that, in this case, the system is up or down and monitoring is turned on or off. So you see there's some time here where for 2 hours, the system was down and monitoring was on. That would negatively impact the SLA. But perhaps this was a mistake. Perhaps we forgot to turn monitoring off via the monitoring switch we just showed, or the maintenance window, which I'll show in just a few minutes. So what we can actually do is double click and a new window pops up. And you can say, yes, the status was down, but perhaps this was just forgot to turn off monitoring. And I'm going to select this as planned downtime. and do apply, you'll see that my SLA has moved up, or my achieved uptime has moved up. And here you can see that if there's a little red mark here, this has been manually overridden. So what we just did here, and here you can see the notes of why we had to manually override it. Now, another way of stopping the SLA clock, instead of selecting the monitoring switch from the properties tab, or from retroactively going back and modifying it, is through a maintenance window. So here, the maintenance calendar for this particular system, there's currently nothing in here. So to create a new maintenance window, I'm going to select Configuration, Maintenance Window. And here you can start to see the maintenance windows. So we've got some examples here. And here you can see for every third Saturday of the month, we're going to stop the SLA clock for a certain set of systems. And here we're going to turn monitoring on or off. Again, so this is going to stop the clock. You can still keep monitoring on or off. To learn more about maintenance windows, there is a follow-up training session based just on maintenance windows, as it can be very, very powerful in being able to not only start and stop SLA clocks, looking at systems, but also get into running automations, starting and stopping of SAP systems, starting and stopping of public cloud-based servers. So be sure to check that out, that training session out on the maintenance windows. So this view is of just one particular system. If I wanted to get a view of all of my systems, or if I'm a managed service provider and I want to get a view of the SLAs across all of my customers, I can go to the reporting dropdown and select the availability overview. Now in here is the view of a managed service provider. If you're an enterprise, you'll just see your one customer name in here, where I can open up each one. And now I can see all of my servers. And it's important to note that this view starts at the server, goes into the instance, which then is associated with the SAP system, okay? In a couple different columns here, we have our uptime, we have our unplanned downtime, we have the amount of planned downtime, which equals to the achieved uptime. All right, so the achieved uptime is essentially not including the planned time. So as of right now, from January 27th to June 5th, which is kind of a long SLA maintenance window, but maybe you have it month by month or quarter by quarter, whatever SLAs you have, you'll see that you can actually see the availability rate. So anytime that we've got some unplanned downtime, you can see what that availability rate is. And you can also see how much more time can be afforded, right? So if you can afford, through those calculations of the SLA hours and the service level agreements that we've configured earlier in this video, maybe we can allow, let's say for this time period, 5 hours of downtime. And maybe we had 2 hours and 52 minutes of downtime already. Here you can see Avantra is going to actually say, well, hey, you still have 3 hours and 8 minutes of downtime that you can still afford as well. Now, as you look at this view here, you can start to see that there's a lot of green in here. If you just want to skim it down to just anything that violates the SLA, you can either select it with uptime with less than a certain percentage, or you can just select this box here, and it will then collapse everything down to only things where we have missed SLAs. So here again, the servers may have been up, but as we get into the servers, central instance, you can now see that the SAP system was down here as well. And you can actually open these all up from here instead of clicking through them all. You can actually open it up by clicking this little button here. That will expand everything right away as well. In this training video, we covered how to define service hours, service level agreements, stopping the SLA clock, and different SLA views.